But our company specializes in holding self-directed IRAs and 401ks. So individuals who have money in retirement accounts, whether that's at a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity or someone similar to that, who want to use that money to invest in what we call alternative assets. So it's real estate, predominantly, whether it's single family homes, notes and mortgages, multifamily syndications. We hold those types of assets. So hopefully a lot of your listeners are familiar with self-directed IRAs, but for those who aren't, just very simply, the IRS will allow you to invest your retirement funds in a lot of different assets, not just what a brokerage firm or a bank is going to limit you to with what products they sell. And so companies like Advanta exist to hold these, what we call truly alternative assets. You go out and find, again, a rental property or multifamily deal. You want to buy cryptocurrency, gold. The list goes on. And we act to hold that asset inside your IRA, which allows you to keep the money in your retirement account tax protected.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke. And today we have Scott Maurer. Scott is the Director of Business Development at Advanta IRA. Advanta IRA is a self-directed IRA custodian specializing in helping individuals invest in alternative assets using their retirement funds. Scott, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, great, Dwaine. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it. As I kind of mentioned pre-show, we work with a lot of investors in syndications and investment deals. So I sent out an email to our investor list and say, hey, we're going to be doing an interview with Scott today. Shoot out as many questions as you can think of. And lately, as we've been kind of putting some deals together, some investors been kind of, putting this stuff that kind of they were curious about or just wanted kind of some sticky stuff. But before we kick things off, if you don't mind, kind of talk a little bit about your background and a little bit about your company.
Sure. Yeah. My background, just as an individual, my educational background, I should say, is I'm a licensed attorney. I'm licensed under the state of Florida. The background kind of that I got into Advanta IRA, our owner is also an attorney for Advanta. That's how I initially connected with him. But our company specializes in holding self-directed IRAs and 401ks. So individuals who have money in retirement accounts, whether that's at a Charles Schwab or a Fidelity or someone similar to that, who want to use that money to invest in what we call alternative assets. So it's real estate, predominantly, whether it's single family homes, notes and mortgages, multifamily syndications. We hold those types of assets. So hopefully a lot of your listeners are familiar with self-directed IRAs, but for those who aren't, just very simply, the IRS will allow you to invest your retirement funds in a lot of different assets, not just what a brokerage firm or a bank is going to limit you to with what products they sell. And so companies like Advanta exist to hold these, what we call truly alternative assets. You go out and find, again, a rental property or multifamily deal. You want to buy cryptocurrency, gold. The list goes on. And we act to hold that asset inside your IRA, which allows you to keep the money in your retirement account tax protected while making these particular investments. So our clients choose to do that. They see a real estate opportunity that might make more sense to them, or they feel they can get a better return than what they're getting in the market. We're able to then facilitate that transaction. So we don't sell investments, but we facilitate people who have these unique alternative investments and help them make that inside, again, any type of IRA, solo 401ks, et cetera. That's what we do.
Absolutely. And the thing that's big for me as I started learning about this years ago was I saw a presentation about it. And the big key takeaway for me was the control. Usually traditionally people have a 401k with their company or their sponsored plan, and they invest them in, these stocks or whatever it is. And that's kind of like, that's it. But here with self-directed, you're actually getting control and, whatever alternative investment fit for your, retirement plan that can do well. For my next question will be, what are, we could talk about the alternative investments, and you named a couple of them. Is there something that you can't invest in due to these plans?
Yeah, when the IRS created retirement, basically IRAs in 1975, they said a couple things you can't do with your IRA. The two prohibited investments are life insurance and collectibles. And collectibles would include, antiques, artwork, collectible coins, things of that nature. So you can't buy those two investments, and your IRA cannot transact with any disqualified person. So a disqualified person for your IRA account includes yourself as the account owner, your spouse, parents and grandparents, kids and grandkids, and kind of simply what that means, you can't transact with them. You can't have your IRA buy a property or buy an investment that you already own personally. You can't sell, your IRA cannot sell something to a disqualified person, and no disqualified person should get any kind of benefit from that investment. So if you're buying, say, a single family rental property inside the IRA, you should not be living in the property. That would be prohibited as well. But as far as investing with third parties, especially people doing limited partnerships and multifamily deals, you're not going to have those issues pop up. So the IRS doesn't have a lot of restriction when it comes to the investment types, for sure. And the only restriction then on who you're transacting with is just your immediate family.
Yes, we have tons of real estate investors that listen on the call. One of the questions that was popping up was, is the transaction that you do has to be in all cash, or can they also get a mortgage along with that to kind of expand and buy something bigger?
I would tell you that it's easier to have an all cash transaction, and I would say probably 95% of the investments we see are all cash deals where an IRA is investing in or making an investment where all the IRA is doing is putting up cash. You're buying a property down the street, you have enough cash to cover the entire purchase and any rehab or repairs that need to be done. It's just a simpler way to do it. It is possible and legal under the rules for your IRA to make a down payment and then have your IRA borrow money in order to make the purchase. However, the caveat to that is, going back to the disqualified persons rules, no disqualified person can personally guarantee a loan to the IRA. So if your IRA makes a down payment, your IRA is expected to then borrow the funds from a lender on a non-recourse basis, meaning that the bank or the lender is lending money to the IRA, and since you or no disqualified person can personally guarantee it, the loan is considered non-recourse. Meaning, so for a lender, that just means if the loan isn't being paid, the only option they would have would be to foreclose on the property. So for that reason, most banks do not do non-recourse loans with IRAs involved. There are a couple of national lenders that will do it, and they're usually looking for probably 30 to 40% down. So it is possible. It's just most deals we see are cash transactions, or a situation where, say a husband's IRA has enough money for half of the purchase and a wife's IRA has money for half the purchase, and they do that purchase together kind of as joint tenants or a tenant in common situation. So it's not just one IRA has enough for everything. It's somebody's IRA and then, being a partner with other people.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. You can partner. Okay, sounds good. Another question we had from the group was, what's the process of transferring from a sponsored or employer plan, and then how long does that typically take to do?
So moving money from an employer-sponsored plan is called in the industry, the proper term is a direct rollover. Now, one caveat to doing a direct rollover from an employer plan is if you are currently employed with that company. So it's a 401k for the company that you're working for. You may not be able to move those monies, and you have to check with the administrator of that plan to see if you're eligible. The IRS simply the rules allow for a current employer to restrict movement of that money. Now, any former employers' plans, no problem in doing a direct rollover. You simply contact the administrator of that plan, request that they send a check, basically do a direct rollover from that plan into the Advanta IRA that you set up to self-direct. So employer-sponsored plans, it's called a direct rollover, where the IRA or the account owner initiates it. If you already have money in an IRA and you're looking at moving it from, say, a Fidelity IRA to an Advanta IRA account, the technical term is transfer, and we send that request. So transfers and direct rollovers, the important thing to remember, both are tax-free movements of money. So when you move money from that old employer's plan or you move it from that IRA account, It's not taxable at all to you to move that money into a self-directed IRA account.
And then the role of Advanta is this, like you fill out the kind of the paperwork that's required, and you guys kind of take the driver's seat and kind of handle that for the client?
Correct. So we facilitate at the outset of getting the account opened, having them actually open and establish the IRA account. We will help them determine, okay, where are the funds that you're looking to use for this particular investment? Where are they located? And we can give them the proper guidance. It needs to be a direct rollover. It needs to be a transfer. Here's the paperwork that you fill out to do it. So at the outset of the relationship that we have with our clients, we are facilitating that paperwork and letting them know exactly what each step is that they need to take to get the account established and then get money moved over.
And it was kind of like a typical time frame for people to kind of expect, because we have people that are like looking at deals that may be time sensitive, but you want to have them like set a expectation of how long it would take, so they know what's the process for that.
It can take anywhere from a few days with an IRA transfer that's being wired to maybe a few weeks. If you're doing an old 401k rollover, a lot of times those companies insist on sending a check. So it's just going to take longer for the check to get here and clear. However, once you have the account set up with us, and we have an account number, we can start working towards your investments. If you have an investment you want to lock up, once we get the account open, we can start filling out the investment paperwork, whether it's a contract on a single family home, whether you're doing a private loan, whether you're investing in a syndication and you're doing subscription paperwork. We can start on those documents and just finalize it once we actually get the cleared funds from your transfer or rollover. So probably want to allow anywhere from a few days to a few weeks, again, just depending on who your custodian is and what type of an account you have. And again, that's something at the outset. When you tell us where you're moving money from, we can give you a much better gauge and idea of how long that's going to take. And we keep records on each custodian, typically in their processing requirements.
Beautiful. And then can you kind of take us through kind of like the steps, like the step-by-step from like the opening account all the way through to the actual, bi-direction letter and, to
Sure.
the investment and completion?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step for the client is filling out our paperwork. It's standard IRA application documents. We're getting your information, your beneficiary designations, et cetera. And again, figuring out doing that, whether it's a transfer or rollover, and letting the client know from that standpoint what their step is, if they need to reach out to their current custodian to make that happen. So that's initially getting the account open. Once that has occurred, we establish an account number. The client then at that point, we're going to sit back. We're not, again, we don't sell any investment. So it's going to be up to the client at that point to tell us what it is that they're investing in. Piece of real estate, note, mortgage, et cetera. And we will have them fill out a form saying, I'm buying, 123 Main Street. The purchase price is $150,000. And here is the real estate company that's handling here's who's handling the real estate closing. Our role in that process then will be to contact the other parties involved in your investment. Again, whether it's the title company or attorney handling a closing, whether it's a sponsor for real estate syndication, go through all the investment paperwork. Our role would be to give instructions to those other parties. Here is how the IRA needs to read on all of the investment paperwork. So the real estate contract, the closing documents need to show your IRA as the actual owner. So it'd be Advanta IRA for benefit of, John Smith's IRA and his account number. So our role will then be to go through all of the investment paperwork, depending on what the investment is, make sure your IRA is properly listed as the owner. Once those documents are properly titled, we send those documents back to you as the account holder to review and approve. So, you're going to look at a closing statement. You're going to look at the subscription documents, whatever is involved, initial off your approval. Once you've approved it, at that point, we can then sign documents and your funds have come into your Advanta account. We then submit the funds out of your account to make that investment. So we walk you through every step of that initial process. It's usually pretty straightforward. It's not nearly as complicated as some people think it is, because it's something that's new and different. People then automatically, I think, get a little bit nervous because it's not something they've done before. But that's what we're here for. We've done it, thousands of times. We have over 7,000 active accounts and over $1 billion in assets under management. So we know what we're doing, and we'll make sure that the client is comfortable each step of that way.
And what's kind of like the typical costs that people can expect? I know you have, the application process, and then is there like account maintenance depending on how much funds you have in the account?
So we charge a fees based simply on our administrative services. So there's like, for instance, a $50 one-time fee to open an account, a one-time $95 fee for an investment. So when you're buying and selling an asset and we're going through that closing process, it's a $95 fee. Those are one-time fees. So figure out $150 to get your account open, set up, and get your investment made. And then on an annual basis, we charge a flat $295 a year to hold that asset in your account. So if you buy a piece of real estate in your account, we'll pay $295 a year. We'll receive any income back into the account, whether it's rental income or distributions back into your account. Any expense you have with that property taxes, maintenance, repairs on a home. You send us the invoice, we get that check cut. That's all included in that $295 fee. We do not charge based on commissions or the amount your account is growing or the total value, whatnot. It's simply based on our services as an administrator. So we charge the same fee to buy a $100,000 piece of real estate as we do a $500,000 piece of real estate, because the paperwork we do is the same either way.
Beautiful. Yeah, that answered a lot of the questions that most of the people, and I can imagine it's a lot of common questions that you guys get. Why do you think that this type of thing, self-direction, is not like, mainstream as you can, hear like mutual funds and stuff and retirement accounts, that you hear on TV most of the time?
Yeah, I think. I think obviously there's companies that advertise that on, Fidelity is in, on TV a lot. Schwab is on TV. That's, I think, a large chunk of it. The other big thing, I think, a lot of IRAs and retirement funds in the U.S. start as we already talked about, an employer-sponsored 401k plan. So individuals go to work for the school board, they go to work for a private employer, and they start a retirement plan where they make contributions of their salary. The employer kicks in some money too. And in those plans, your investment options oftentimes are very limited by design. So a company establishes a 401k for its employees with a company like Fidelity or Morgan Stanley, where those companies are going to say, okay, your 401k plan starting, here's going to be, pick a few options for your clients to invest in. And the sponsor has no, thought or inclination to add real estate and these other options because they don't know it's possible. Mm-hmm. So most people then have their 401k through these employers, and they're just conditioned, hey, that's where my money needs to be because those are the options I have. It takes people listening to podcasts like this one, going to your local real estate investment groups, talking with other knowledgeable parties, or just simply Googling, going on the internet and finding out what other options are out there. I mean, we do try to do our best to make appearances such as this one. We do classes, we do webinars to make it happen. But again, if you're not looking for it, most people are not going to find out about it. They're just conditioned to think their mutual funds is the investment they need to have. And a financial advisor who is in that industry and sells mutual funds and sells stocks for a living is not going to tell you about other options you have, for the fear, obviously, that you'll take your money and go elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, very good points there. For the guests, for the audience to learn a little bit more about you, what's kind of like a typical day? I know you out there getting the message out and you're out there just educating people on this process, but what's kind of a typical day, and do you have any special morning routines?
Sure. So a typical day for me is anything from teaching classes. We do hour-long lunch seminars in our offices in Tampa and Atlanta. We do online webinars, usually an hour long, that you obviously, no matter where you're located, you can listen to 3-hour CE classes. So a lot of my day might be spent teaching those classes, also just simply fielding incoming calls. And having those conversations one-on-one with individuals looking to use their IRA. They were referred to us by a friend or an advisor or somebody else that they're investing with. Explaining kind of what I'm doing with you now is just going through that process of what is involved to move their IRA. And then also certainly talking with people who are who are investment sponsors, who are looking to raise capital from a number of individuals. And so explaining to them what self-directed IRAs are, how it works, and how that a self-directed IRA could help them obviously raise more capital for their deals. So that's kind of, my days are never the same, which I like to an extent. However, I'd say my morning routine, every day I give my son a little kiss on his forehead before I leave for work in the morning before he goes off to the bus stop and whatnot. When I get to the office, though, I first sit down. If I don't get to do this first thing in the morning, it bothers me until I get there, is to sit down and just simply look at my inbox. We referrals that came in the night before, other people that I'm expecting to hear back from. I got to sit down and just see what happened basically overnight. Since I left the office, so time I come back in, that's my first morning routine, is to get there and look at that. Like I said, if I have something going on in the morning, first thing, when I don't get to the office right away, it just kind of eats at me until I can get there and see what happens.
Nice. Yeah. So with Advanta's huge growth and building the brand and getting more awareness out there of course you having a big part of that. Can you say what are you most grateful for?
I'm grateful. I mean, for as far as professionally, very grateful to the company I work for. We're very good at what we do, and we have a great owner who's supports us. It's a I guess you could say somewhat a laid back atmosphere to an extent. Everybody gets along in our office, very easy to work with, and I think that goes through, and our clients respect that as well. We're laid back to that extent. However, we work extremely hard. We're very quick, and everybody in our staff has that dedication to customer service that we have. So in a business side of things, that's one thing I'm very grateful for. Is simply the environment that we work in and we're allowed to makes growth that much easier. And on a personal side, family. I'm very blessed to have all of my close family, my wife's close family, all live here in the Tampa Bay area. We see each other on weekends. My son plays soccer, and everybody shows up at the soccer game. So that's one thing I'm very grateful. And I know that a lot of people, don't live in the same city or have to take flights.
Mm-hmm.
The holiday time to go see their relatives. That's something that I guess hopefully I don't take it for granted, but that's something I'm extremely grateful for.
Beautiful. Yeah. So how do we get in contact with you or the company? If you can give us some website links or some phone numbers, that would be helpful.
Sure. The web link is just simply advantaira.com. So it's ADVANTAIRA.com. You can go there. You can find link to our YouTube page to watch all of our recorded webinars. You can simply call our number too. It's 800-425-0653. And if you want to get me directly, just hit extension 1123 and you'll get me out right to my phone.
Beautiful. Scott, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to learn more about this process, and thank you for answering the questions that a lot of people I'm thinking is as burning and to learn more about. And like I said, we'll look forward to connecting with you again soon, and have a great week.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dwaine. You too.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at DwaineLClarke.com, as well as find us on Facebook for more useful content and resources.